Urgent weather message. National Weather Service, New Orleans, Louisiana. Devastating damage expected. Hurricane Katrina, a most powerful hurricane with unprecedented strength. Most of the area will be uninhabitable for weeks. Most power poles will be down and transformers destroyed. Water shortages will make human suffering incredible by modern standards.
A day before the storm, I was trying to make preparations to evacuate the city totally, and due to the fact of the circumstances, other people I felt responsible for, and those people felt responsible for me also, it didn't happen.
And a lot of people did not have rights to leave out of there,
like they
you know.
August 29, 2005. Hurricane Katrina makes landfall as a Category 3 storm, producing winds up to 125 miles per hour and massive storm surges.
The storm was huge. It was the size of Texas. Can you imagine a storm that big?
We just prayed that it stopped raining. But during that time, we had to bust through the ceiling to get to safety, which was in the attic.
When the levee broke, and they said that broke, then the water came pouring in.
Water was everywhere. We saw dead people in the water. It was like the water was stinking. New Orleans is just gone.
By the next morning, the winds have calmed and the rains have stopped. Hurricane Katrina has passed. 80% of New Orleans is now underwater. More than 70,000 people are trapped without shelter, water, food, or hope for rescue.
We're on a neutral ground looking at all these people passing us up, and after a while we had no police in the area. They weren't gonna take us.
It was just terrible. We didn't have no water and stuff like that there.
I was just lost because I have 4 children, which I had 3 here, and I couldn't find my son.
The thing that really gets me is why they didn't come in sooner.
In preparation for Katrina, the Federal Emergency Response Agency, FEMA, had laid the groundwork for the largest relief effort in the agency's history. However, senior officials at the Department of Homeland Security failed to execute critical elements of the National Response Plan, despite their knowledge of the storm's potentially catastrophic outcome. This halts relief and rescue efforts for days.
Don't tell me 40,000 people are coming here. They're not here. There's 2 doggone lakes. Now get off your asses and let's do something, and let's fix the biggest goddamn crisis in the history of this country.
It was just sheer chaos, It wasn't, to me, it was no longer the Superdome, it became the Thunderdome.
And I stayed there overnight, and from there, on France Street, we walked to the convention center, which was another hellhole.
Then nighttime came, and then all hell broke loose.
Every night, it was just everybody for themselves. There was no coordination there, no police, no nothing.
I got to the convention center Monday night. Tuesday morning, I watched people die.
God bless us all.
It seemed like they were forgotten, or they just didn't care.
All I knew, I wanted to get out of that, man. Wherever they picked me up and put me down was all right with me.
buses come through. Everybody's coming. Ain't nobody getting in no line. Everybody's just coming to try to get on the bus. And the buses will pull off.
And how did we manage to get rescued was there was a helicopter flying above.
We went to Kenner Airport.
And at the airport, they had the blue jet. They loaded us on the jet.
I didn't know where we were going. I heard rumors that we were going to Oklahoma.
We thought we were going to San Antonio, Texas.
I asked them, where we going? Well, nobody know. Nobody know.
So they passed the word along, don't tell them where they're going. You don't know, just tell them you don't know.
And they wouldn't tell us where we was going. They would not tell us where we was going.
How we found out where we were going, the pilot came on the speaker and he said, welcome to JetBlue. Your flight time will be 3.5 hours to Utah. And that's when everybody fell out.
Okay, we have similarities, but the major difference is that it's a lot of white folks. What can I say?
We have responded to the state of Louisiana by saying that we could accommodate immediately upwards of 1,000 people. We don't know for what duration of time. It could be weeks, it could be months. We don't know yet.
September 4th, 2005. For the nearly 600 African-American Hurricane Katrina evacuees arriving in Salt Lake City, Utah, setting foot on dry land anywhere was like stepping into paradise.
Oh, it's beautiful. I'm happy to be here. For 5, 6 days, just trying to survive, that's all.
Any place else is better than down there, because the whole city just is a whole bunch of chaos, you know, everybody panic, you know, like, it's just messed up.
Faces were really drawn. They were so tired, and they'd been through so much. You could see the pain.
It scares you knowing that you're going to a place where there's not that many black people. So I think a lot of people was afraid at first when they heard they was going to Utah. And people probably would rather go anywhere but Utah.
Before the evacuees are transported to more comfortable accommodations, there is one final indignity to attend to.
Well, I was at the airport. Every plane that came in and stood at the bottom of the steps and watched these exhausted, traumatized people come down. And we gave them a great welcome. We took them to the hospitality center, and then before they went on the bus, their bags were searched.
They've just lost their homes, their jobs, their whole way of life, and they end up here, and the first thing they do when they get off the plane is they get frisked. They need to make it clear why they were putting these people through all of that.
The reason I was given by the National Guard is that they had not been searched at the airport, at New Orleans Airport.
Search them for what? Some of them came in with just a blanket. What are you going to search them for? They had lost everything that they had. To me, it's ridiculous.
Pre-flight security screenings are designed to prevent mid-air hijackings. Once the plane has landed, that threat no longer exists, making these post-flight searches appear humiliating.
We didn't know who these people were. Most of them didn't have any identification on them, so you have no idea who they are. You need to at least know who they are, and they need to make sure they have no contraband on them.
Were the post-flight searches an overreaction on the part of an isolated community? Or is there more to the story? In a place where everything, from the landscape to the cuisine to the politics, is in direct contrast to the only lives these newly displaced New Orleanians have ever known, a place where the Mormon Church influences daily life, and African Americans comprise less than 1% of the total population. Will these survivors of Hurricane Katrina receive the help they need to move on with their lives? Or will the cultural differences in Utah prove too much to overcome?
We didn't want to come here. We got on a plane to Utah. I'm like, what the hell am I doing in Utah?
You know, by me coming from the south, I had no clue. All I could think about was desert.
I mean, coming from something green and really not lush to the desert might be a culture shock.
My initial opinion was I wondered why Utah. I was, to be quite honest, excited to have some black people in the valley.
My first reaction was it would give us a chance as residents of Salt Lake to be able to help them in any way we could.
I thought, yay, more black people. We will not be the only ones here, because it was like 10 of us.
But for every welcoming smile, there are voices of dissent.
There were buses, and the buses were provided, and they chose not.
Let me ask you this. You feel that they chose not to leave because they were irresponsible, or?
Irresponsible.
Okay.
And when someone's irresponsible, they shouldn't have pets or children.
Okay, and
Well, I should say it the other way, children or pets. She wasn't
Now, if she
there.
could ride a bike in 30 foot of water, hello.
Let her
You know
ride
what I'm
it.
saying? Let her ride.
I like to see that. I would like to see that.
As a matter of fact, I just came back from working a year in New Orleans, March 1st, and wasn't too excited about having a bunch of them come here. It would astound you how many people are involved in crime down there, and I really don't want those kind of people settling in.
You're not going to get beyond the abstractions of calling human beings those people until you get to know each other. It really is a great mix of people and a very welcoming community with a lot of people willing to not only volunteer, but to open up their homes.
While many Utahns express mixed feelings regarding their new guests, the hurricane evacuees have worries of their own. The differences in environment and culture are apparent immediately.
Only thing I knew about Utah was that's the city that took the jazz from New Orleans.
Well, my son told me, and he knew more about Utah than I did. He said, just don't come home a Mormon.
Well, New Orleans is better.
I heard it get real cold, you know, and don't too many black people like cold weather, you know.
Well, I was thinking that I'm coming to a place where I'll probably get hungry.
For these displaced New Orleanians, all concerns are trivial compared to the one issue that weighs on the minds of everyone, including Clifford Andrews, a 40-year-old unemployed father of two. What do they do now?
We have to absolutely start all over again. And the change is which really makes me nervous, but it's something I'm willing to deal with.
Curtis Pleasant, a construction worker with 5 children, and Gwendolyn, his wife of 24 years, consider the big picture.
I ain't got no plans now but to start a clean new slate for my family. I'm 45, my wife 45, my kids all grown, my youngest is 17. You know, it's a good opportunity for us.
The main thing I'm focusing on right now is getting established, making a life for my children and my fiance.
As evacuees face the challenges of assimilating into an unfamiliar environment, resident Utahns find they too must adjust to the presence of their new visitors.
My impressions of New Orleans were just what I'd seen on Mardi Gras. You know, that was the most coverage that I had seen of it. I've never been there.
The place is different from any place you've ever been before. My opinion is more based on fact, and having lived down there, I found them to be basically, as a whole, undereducated, and by far the highest percentage of everybody down there drinks seriously.
As misconceptions and fear lead to rumors and growing community concern, the state's handling of the evacuees draws criticism. Are the evacuees being criminalized because they are largely black?
The Governor Super John Huntsman, he gave a press conference and said that they were bringing refugees here. And then at this press conference, he said that they were going to put them at Camp Williams. And I thought, well, that's a military facility. Why would they put those people here?
Camp Williams is perched on the western slope of the Traverse Mountain Range between the Jordan Narrows and the Ochre Mountains, and encompasses 28,000 acres of mostly desert-like terrain. The site is located 45 minutes outside Salt Lake City limits.
Camp Williams sits kind of in between Salt Lake and Utah County, and there's not really much in the way of civilization except the Camp Williams Artillery Range.
I brought my staff together, and we looked at what Camp Williams had to offer. The National Guard is unique in that we regularly receive large numbers of soldiers during training periods. So we house, feed, and accommodate large numbers of individuals.
I think Camp Williams was a good place because they were probably all neighbors and friends, and so they're comfortable there until they find their own spot in the earth.
If they were of white descent, I believe that they would put them somewhere closer to the city anyway.
Most likely a hotel. I'm certain it'll be a hotel.
Oh, they'd be downtown, right where media would have access to them, where everybody would be able to see them.
I don't think that's true at all. I think Camp Williams was a place where they had the facilities to put them, just to put them in town. It has nothing to do with it.
I don't think there's any doubt that, whether on a conscious or unconscious level, there was a racial component. Imagine telling people that they need to be isolated out there because you need to control and keep track of where they are. Imagine upper class white families being treated that way. It never would have happened. Absolutely would not have happened.
An 11 p.m. curfew was implemented for all evacuees housed at Camp Williams. Those not on the base prior to curfew were not allowed to return until morning.
The curfews at Camp Williams, that seems like just a normal way of controlling a situation.
The purpose of a curfew, and it was my decision to institute a curfew, was that people needed sleep and rest. It had nothing to do with any community concerns. It was simply out of respect for living in close quarters.
They're supposed to be free Americans. They should have been able to go wherever they want, wherever they were invited.
Imposing the curfew and making sure everybody is safe in their beds where they're supposed to be, where there's nothing else to do at that hour of the day anyway, I don't think that that's unrealistic.
How do you make people feel safe? You make them feel like you have control of the situation. You know, when you go to bed at night, you will be safe because we have them contained, and this is their environment. That is why the curfew was set up. It was for the public, not for the evacuees.
As evacuees begin the process of piecing their lives back together, those age 18 and older find themselves subject to a criminal background check.
You're not just doing one, you're doing 2 or 3 background checks on these people. So I'm sure it makes them feel like they're criminals.
Why should you have to submit to a background check or even have to produce ID because you were in a disaster? That's crapola of the worst order.
To me, that would be offensive. I don't think you need anything like that. And I would doubt Governor Huntsman would mandate a background check. I would have to see in writing or some video of the governor saying you need a background check before you can come in.
It was standard procedure for every state to do this, whether black, white, or anything else. In fact, I think it was a prerequisite for Red Cross housing. I think it's pretty routine that they require such a background check.
Utah Red Cross officials state that a criminal background check is not a prerequisite for Red Cross housing, but several states hosting Katrina evacuees did employ the practice. In Utah, the criminal histories uncovered brought much controversy.
Unfortunately, we heard from our Attorney General that dozens of these people had been convicted murderers or rapists.
Appearing on Fox News Radio KNRS AM 570, Utah Attorney General Mark Shurtleff stated that several dozen of the hurricane evacuees were convicted murderers.
He came on saying, well, they had to let ex-cons out of prison, and so, you know, we have murderers there, rapists there, and you live in a community where people respect and treasure their virtue. They're not, I mean, they want to help, but they don't want to put themselves in harm's way to help.
Talking to several people after the reports came out regarding the murder conviction of some of the evacuees, they're a little bit worried about how some of them are wandering around, and they're very grateful for the requirement of them being back in by midnight.
And it all turned out to be untrue.
Not one evacuee arrest was made. In fact, according to the governor's own website, quote, none of the guests at Camp Williams have criminal records that would justify booking them into jail. Mr. Shurtleff maintains he was misinformed by the Utah Department of Public Safety.
And it went away so easily. Like, nobody made him step up to the plate and explain it. It was kind of like explain it. He couldn't explain it, and then it was just gone.
That just hurt so much, not only in the immediate rescue efforts, but I think over the long haul in doing what needs to be done to help these people pick up their lives and move on.
I felt like he was saying, you know, you have to be, there's a whole lot of black folks here. Not everybody, you know, you can't trust them. We're going to befriend them. We're going to feed them with a long spoon, but don't be their friend.
I think that Utah as a whole is afraid of the unknown. They are product of what they see on TV simply because there aren't a lot of African Americans here. And so they can't assume that what they see on TV or even what the media portrays African Americans to be true.
I'm not saying that everybody in Utah is racist, but I do feel like there's that underlying racism that exists. When you come from a certain class in America and you are black, that's 3 strikes. One is that you're, you know, from a poverty-stricken area. And number 2 is that you black. And number 3 is that you black. So that's the 3rd strike, and we gotta watch you.
Put on a plane and shipped to an almost entirely white state of Utah without their knowledge. Upon arrival, frisked, housed at a secure military base far from civilization and under curfew, subjected to multiple criminal background checks, after which erroneous findings are broadcast on the radio, resulting in community panic. Were this the experience of most Americans, outrage would soon follow. However, for an African American from New Orleans, this would simply appear to echo their everyday experience.
If I listen to that, instead of worrying about trying to do things for my family and make a living for my kids and my wife, which all my kids are grown, I wouldn't be able to make it. I mean, if I'd be worried about the gossip and what's the this and the that, I mean, I left that in New Orleans.
The fact is, New Orleans' notorious reputation is not without substance. For many, life in the Big Easy is anything but.
There was extreme tension between blacks and whites, and the city was probably more polarized before Katrina than what I had seen it in a very long time. And it had everything to do with the fact that the poverty rate in this city was so very high. We had a 35% poverty rate, and 80% of those persons within the poverty level were African Americans.
Back home, it was a grind every day. every single day. Every single day. It was just trying to make it. Trying to make it.
In New Orleans, you live off paycheck after paycheck. You know, and it was like each bill would be paid half. You just had to some kind of way make sure that other bill is some kind of little something on that bill. You know.
Compounding the problem created by poverty is the prevalence of violent crime, murder, and drugs in everyday life.
I'm saying before the storm, everything was bad.
Yeah.
The crime was bad. People were living bad.
People was
they didn't have respect
dying
for
every
each other.
day.
Every day, you know.
Every
everything
day there was
bad.
murder.
In this environment, many in New Orleans see few options for themselves and their families. And Clifford and Curtis were no exception.
Before I left, I was going to jail repeatedly, twice a month, for the simplest things. You know, no brake tag, no license plate. As a matter of fact, my son, if I were to stay away from home other than working, he'd ask his mama, "Ma, where Daddy at? He in jail again?"
In 1983, Curtis was arrested for aggravated burglary and sentenced to 3 years in prison.
I got 3 years for it, and I stayed there and worked out and just started going to church and praying, trying to put my mind together, my life together, what I'm gonna do when I get out. You know, when I came home, that was it for me. You know, that's a life I don't never want to live no more. I brought my family through hell. I ain't shot drugs, crack cocaine. You know, I smoked marijuana. I done dropped pills before, but it felt like when I got on crack, it was just, I brought my family through hell. And she stuck by me. If anybody else ain't stuck behind me, she stuck behind me.
You know, it was like horrible. It was horrible. Well, it kind of helped us with the hurricane and stuff. That kind of helped us. And I prayed and prayed that something would happen where it could just, you know, he'd be, you know, it'd be wiped away from him. He don't have to deal with it no more, and I don't have to deal with it no more.
Clifford also struggled with addiction.
I was doing crack because I wasn't happy with my life. I wasn't pleased at all. I'm 40 years old. I have no career. I have no steady job. My girl paying all the bills. I mean, how can you live like that? In New Orleans, living it every day, you didn't recognize it. I thought that that's the way the world was until I got here. Now that I'm here, I can look back and see how hard it was. It just made me a survivor.
For Clifford, Hurricane Katrina had been a wake-up call, and Curtis recognized the chance to start over.
See, this is my new home. You can't see there go my mountains right there. You know.
Seeking to leave behind the problems of the past and create a better future for their families, each draws strength from a higher power.
Absolutely. Any space up here, you can feel the presence of the Lord. So all you got to do is meditate and talk to him within yourself and you'll be all right. I am Southern Baptist. That's what I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss my church really much.
Well, so far, the religious thing, there's only one God. If you're talking about the same God I'm worshiping and it ain't the devil, I'm good with it.
Oh yeah, my faith in God, that's who brought me through. You know, kept us strong through we didn't go crazy, you know, when I was at the convention center, you know, and it was because of him. God helped us, you know, cope.
In the days and weeks following the evacuees' arrival at Camp Williams, Utah state officials and the Red Cross helped nearly half of their guests return to New Orleans or reunite with family across the U.S. However, the remaining evacuees, including the families of Curtis Pleasant and Clifford Andrews, attempt to make a home for themselves in Utah, at least for now.
On the water. In 3 months, I see myself in a nice area, which there are plenty of up here, with a very decent job that I like, which is important, to like your job, and just enjoying Utah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay for a little while, maybe 2 years.
I kind of think now that we're in a whole different category for as storms is concerned, man. You know what I'm saying? And I really don't feel I want to go through that every year. I've weathered enough storms.
Remember, Curtis Pleasant. That's right. Well, now my name is Curtis Pleasant from Utah, not New Orleans. Thank you very much.
Though Curtis and Clifford see their future in this paradise in the desert, Utah's past may stand in their way. In the eyes of most Americans, the state of Utah and the Mormon Church are one and the same. Founder Joseph Smith established the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in 1830 after claims that he was visited in his youth by God, Jesus Christ, and several angels.
Joseph Smith's goal was to set up God's kingdom in the Midwest. He ended up out here. I remember Brigham Young, my great-great-grandfather, saying, you know, you people have to repent, or you might have to stay in this godforsaken area for another 10 years. Well, we're still here.
Utah has been the official home for the LDS Church since 1847, when church prophet Brigham Young and his followers first colonized the territory. Today, 12% of the church's worldwide membership resides here.
Brigham Young said, we're not looking for a fingerhold in heaven. We're going to build our Zion here and now. So start building it. A place where God and humanity can meet. The more they're in this insular area, the more it became parochial, introverted, suspicious, and authoritarian.
It's repressive. Why? The world is a big, wide open, culturally diverse place, and Utah is a very small fraction of 1%, and the Mormon perception is smaller than that. Yet, the universe is supposed to be Mormon-centric, and it isn't. And so they get an attitude about it, they get defensive, and they wall themselves into this little enclave, and they don't want anybody coming in because people are going to ask questions about their curious practices and their religion, and they don't like that.
Throughout its history, the Church has drawn criticism for numerous aspects of its unorthodox doctrine, including the practice of polygamy and the concept of continuous revelation, the belief that God still speaks directly with living prophets on earth, just as in biblical times.
We believe that we have opportunities to receive direct revelation for ourselves. We believe that the prophet of the LDS Church receives direct revelation not only for members of the church, but for the world.
This tenet of continuous revelation would play a key role in the Church's relationship with African Americans.
The Mormon Church, for a long time, maintained that the blacks were cursed. They went beyond the old sort of Presbyterian view. They actually said that the sign of the curse was black skin.
Well, it was that you can baptize blacks, though that was not encouraged. In fact, it was often informally discouraged. But you couldn't ordain them in the priesthood, and that means everything in the Mormon scheme of the hereafter.
Church doctrine requires that you be a priest, be married to a priest, or be the child of a priest to gain entry into heaven. The 1966 printing of the church text, Mormon Doctrine, reads in part, Negroes in this life are denied the priesthood. Under no circumstances can they hold this delegation of authority from the Almighty.
And they also, Joseph Smith, who's the founder of the church, who seems to have been a very brilliant man, he was an anti-abolitionist. He fought strongly against the abolitionists, and he said that slavery was a divinely mandated institution. So that's a lot of baggage.
It wasn't until 1978 that church leaders received the revelation from God, and blacks were finally allowed to enter the priesthood. The revelation came shortly after heavy public and government scrutiny, much as it had when the church officially banned polygamy in 1890. It would be 1990 before an African American would rise to the middle ranks of the Mormon Church. Declining to comment further on the issue, the LDS Church instead responded by email, offering the following explanation. For reasons known only to God, the revelation was not given until 1978. In the church's official statement from 1978, Apostle Bruce R. McConkie declares that the revelation, quote, erases all the darkness and all the views and all the thoughts of the past. They don't matter anymore.
When the Afrikaners in the Dutch Reformed Church, when they said they were sorry for doing horrible things in apartheid in Africa, they said they were wrong. And they repented corporately and individually. The Mormon Church, they felt obliged to defend it because in their view, it had come in a revelatory manner. People, they'll forgive, they'll move on. But first of all, you have to have the sense to say, I'm sorry. The Mormon Church has not really done that with the black thing.
Now, the way the Mormon Church has dealt with its past racism is to highlight how many blacks, especially in Africa, are becoming Mormons and saying, see, we're not in any way prejudiced. But what they really have to do is show that those blacks who've joined the church can serve in important leadership roles in the church.
Look, if you had 7 people of color, 5 of them women, sitting on the stand at General Conference with the big tabernacle organ and all that stuff, it'd do more than all of the sermons given there for 100 years to heal the rifts in this valley.
You will never see a black woman in the Quorum of the 12. Nobody will never see a black woman in the Quorum of the 12 because it will no longer be the LDS Church.
While African Americans have made only limited inroads into the leadership tier of the Mormon Church, resident Utahns are eager to dispel the belief that their home state lacks diversity.
I know that we're all being perceived as white Mormons, but we're more diverse here in Utah than people actually know or think.
Salt Lake City, whether it's religion, I know a lot of people think we're all Mormon. It's actually 55% people who are not members of the LDS Church.
We're racial. We're
racially harmonious?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Okay.
We have lots of people from Mexico and Peru and Tongan. We have lots of people.
Hi, this is Rabbi Shmuley calling again.
Days after the evacuees arrive at Camp Williams, Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, the host of a popular AM radio talk show, receives an on-air call from one of the camp's new residents. The station is owned and operated by the Mormon Church.
We hosted a guest whose name was Zachary Smith, and he was one of the evacuees from New Orleans. And he was a young guy, and he was saying that he liked being out here in Utah. It was such an anomaly to see so many African Americans in a state that normally has 0.08% of a black population, less than 1%. And I said, how are you being treated? He said, oh, we're being treated like celebrities, but why the curfew? Why are we being watched? And I said to him, do you want to go back? He said, no, we'd like to stay. We just don't know if we're welcome. I said, let me prove to you how welcome you are.
Shmuley then announces a change of focus for an upcoming station-sponsored visit to Salt Lake City. It will now be an occasion for Utah citizens to officially welcome their new guests.
That was Friday, and then I went into my Sabbath, and Saturday night comes about, and I have a 25-hour media electronic blackout. I'm an observant Orthodox Jew, and I look at my emails, and one of them is from Rod Arquette, the Vice President of Programming for the entire Bonneville cluster out here in Salt Lake City. Oh, in the meantime, he had left these very disturbing messages, so disturbing that my own wife said, you got to hear this, because he had left them on our home answering machine. And he said,
Shmuley, Rod Arquette.
that. I believe you've begun your Sabbath, and I want to respect that, but I need a call from you as soon as that is over. Do not come to Utah. I will explain why. I'm going to be canceling that flight. Thank you, Shmuley. Bye. Shmuley, Rod Arquette calling you back from KSL. You will not be coming to Utah this weekend. I'm going to cancel that flight. We need to speak. Thank you. Goodbye.
Come hell or high water, you ain't coming to Utah. And I said to myself, what could I have done that could have provoked this kind of vociferous response? I finally reached him Saturday night. He said to me, Shmuley, trip to Utah's off, your show's off, your show's canceled, which shocked me. Come on. I said, what happened? He said, this event you organized on Saturday night, you did it without our permission. I said, Rod, are you seriously telling me you're canceling your most popular radio show because I was going to help organize for black families to live permanently in Utah? This is a big empty state. There's like 3 black guys and like 1 Jew living here. It's not a big deal to have minorities. Are you really? He said, it's not that, it's the insubordination.
In response to questions regarding the cancellation of Rabbi Shmuley's program, Rod Arquette told the Salt Lake City Tribune that radio KUTR AM 820 wanted to, quote, go in a different direction. Mr. Arquette declined to comment further on the incident.
And I thought to myself, you know what? I guess this event that was going to be so special and everyone was going to organize it, we just can't do it. I have no radio show. What am I going to do? But interestingly, the LDS laity, my listeners, said, no. I spoke to some of them and said the event is off. I said, no, the event's not off. We're going to make the event happen.
Without a radio show to help promote the event, Shmuley heads to Camp Williams to extend a personal invitation.
I flew out here. My nephew accompanied me. And the first thing we did was go to Camp Williams. It was easy to get in. I was amazed at what they were doing out there. I was so impressed with the Red Cross, the military. There was one thing missing. These are all government agencies. There was real need for the local residents to welcome the evacuees because there's nothing like real hospitality. Governments can't create hospitality. Only local people can. But they were making announcements for all the upcoming activities, and they let me speak, and they expected me just to sort of say, tomorrow night, Marriott, meet and greet. Instead, I got up and I said, look, in the darkness of this terrible curse of Hurricane Katrina that has brought so much suffering and devastation upon our beautiful country, maybe some light can emerge. Maybe we can finally integrate America.
What this hurricane has done is afforded the first opportunity to create a United States of America. Where people live together as God's children, as brothers and sisters who love each other, and who know that skin color is the most insignificant human facet of all. We just tried to organize an event so that whoever wants to stay in Utah, that doesn't have enough black faces, can come and live in this state and be welcomed as brothers and sisters and as equals. That Utah could be a shining example.
The interesting thing was that Colonel Olson, who I think is a real hero, I mean, he's done an amazing job out there. He followed me outside. He said to me, how'd you get on this base?
I do believe he was inflammatory. I think his comments were untimely.
He said, this is a closed military installation. You need special permission. Who's sponsoring you? You need one of the charitable organizations to sponsor you, the Red Cross. I said, well, no one's sponsoring me. He said, well, then you really shouldn't be here.
The decision for him not to come on post was mine, and that's because he was not sponsored by any organization. He did not have a purpose here. Whether you're a rabbi or whether you're a private citizen, we have to restrict access.
And I want to thank the military, who are the great heroes of the American people, for what they do. What an honor to be here, sir. And God bless you. God bless you.
And he was clearly uncomfortable with me being there. And he tried to hide his discomfort. He was very uncomfortable. I then said to him, Colonel Olson, I think what you're doing out here at Camp Williams is amazing. I've seen the report that you have a white colonel in the U.S. military with African Americans, many of whom are very suspicious of anyone in uniform. I've seen the report. Why are you undermining your phenomenal achievement with this paranoia? By sounding like you're trying to control these people. Or you're trying to control access to them. Almost like you're afraid of subversive elements. He said, it's not like that at all, but there's rules, there's this, that. I said, well, then explain it to me.
You know what? That is such a a blip on what has transpired here. There have been great stories that have taken place. You know, I can't help but be affected personally by the faith of evacuees that have come here, that have seen this disaster as possibly the only opportunity to establish a new life, to get out of New Orleans and create a new life for themselves.
And yes, the decision to exclude me from Camp Williams, I guess, had to do with the fact that I raised the race issue. Most Americans don't want to deal with the race issue, and they feel it's subversive to even bring it up. I actually believe the exact opposite is. I believe you take the sting out when you really do address the issues.
Is Zach here? Oh my God.
We put the event on, and about 20 evacuees came.
The man who cost me my job. But I gotta tell you, he's worth it. Okay,
Yeah,
he was
you
worth
told
this.
me that.
And I said, before we get into all the controversy tonight, let me just say, I am not here to in any way degrade the efforts of Colonel Olson. All I'm trying to say is you guys are just doing this wrong. Because even if there's reasons for a curfew, even if there's reasons to limit the evacuees from meeting, explain the darn thing. Give us the reason. Don't make these black people feel that you're afraid they're going to loot your cities. Just explain why is everything in Utah so suspicious, so paranoid, so secretive. You'd be surprised, and you actually are open about things. People like it more.
You know, I would like to address that in very direct terms. I'm unaware of a single instance that an evacuee could not express his concerns and did not receive an honest and direct response.
Utah, welcome. Utah welcomed us with open arms, and we thank Utah for this.
Shmuley's event opened a dialogue between Katrina evacuees and Utah residents, helping to break down barriers and forge new bonds.
He put it down for us, like that y'all was wrong, and there shouldn't be no shit happening and stuff like that, because these people, they done been through it, so he was really on the outside.
Feeling truly welcomed by the Grady community, evacuees are ready to take that first big step. They leave the gates of Camp Williams for Salt Lake City, moving into their new homes.
We were delighted when some of them started saying, we don't want to go back. We've got nothing to go back for. We think we would like to stay here.
It makes me proud, obviously, as a longtime resident and now as mayor of Salt Lake City, to know that somebody has felt that they fit in this community and that their lives are better.
I just was worried about where my dad was and how everybody else was. You know, after I got in touch with everybody, I felt at home.
With support from various Utah state agencies, evacuees were able to obtain identification and driver's licenses and enroll their children in schools. FEMA relief aid covered rent for 1 year. Retail outlet gift cards provide some spending money. And the generous donations of resident Utahns help usher along the return to normalcy.
In the mail, you're getting maps. You're getting more change of address cards, so you can change your addresses from Camp Williams to where you are now. I know our responsibility were to those evacuees and clientele that were coming into Utah. And our job was to make it as easy and as safe for everyone possible and get them right in and make them comfortable and help them.
This is my other sister. I forgot to tell y'all about that. You know, we just got adopted. We found out we were adopted.
Oh yeah.
So
we're blood brothers.
Very much.
It was miracles every single day. Almost every minute there was a miracle happening.
Come on in. Come on in.
In my life, to see that was more important to me. I mean, everybody was positive. I can't say that they weren't at times somewhat depressed, but the majority were so spirited and so optimistic.
Since the hurricane, we have become a lot, we getting along a lot like my mama would have wanted.
I think the hurricane...
With the help of Utah.
With the help of Utah.
They're just as much a blessing to us as we were to them, really. I mean, it gave the state of Utah an opportunity to show what they're made out of.
The people in this state was so great, you know. I mean, it's like they stepped up to the plate.
My first impression was, wow. And their spirit, their courage, and their hope was unbelievable.
God says, you go to the land of milk and honey. This is the land of milk and honey, baby. I don't like Utah. I don't want the snow. But I thank God that I have a roof over my head. My brothers are here.
I hope that the country sees that there are no walls between races when it comes to the state of Utah. That there is an openness and generosity and actual kindness that comes from within your heart and your soul. And just like the rest of us, we're all the same. We're all breathing the same air. We're all doing the same thing, trying to stay alive.
The kind hearts and helping hands of Utah filled Clifford and Curtis with hope and confidence. Their dreams of a better future are within reach.
Having them adjust here, they'll get it. You know, it's not like we're trying to change their ways. My hope is that they'll bring their culture here as well.
They're happy now. They are. They're happy. You know, some of the ladies were telling me about some of the things that was happening in Louisiana. And some of them feel like it might have been a blessing for some of them to get out of there.
Has your marriage gotten stronger through this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. For real.
More closer. We talk about things.
Better than we used to.
At night, yeah, better than we used to do.
Yeah, much better.
We get in arguments, but it don't last long.
Many arguments.
It don't last long.
You rely on each other, Tanya.
Mm-hmm.
Always have.
We really do, always have.
Well, you do whether it's, I don't know, you mean, even with the bad, even when it's good, I mean, you got to be together.
Family is very important. To have both parents is very important, and I plan to just be that perfect example. You know, just changing that that negative barrier of a one-parent home. The biggest hope I have for my kids is that they get the education and continue to get that education and want to go to college. That's my biggest hope. I got a phone call yesterday that I missed, but they're gonna call me back today, and I'm gonna be going to school for culinary arts. The hard part is just to get started, but that part is being taken care of with the school and everything, and that would have been the hard part in New Orleans. But here, it's all I have to do is just do my part, and my future is possible. So I'm gonna be going to school myself, something I've been trying to do.
Fall turns to winter, and Hurricane Katrina is no longer front-page news. As charity and assistance wane, Clifford and Curtis are left to their own devices, and the cold reality of living in a new and unfamiliar place settles in.
I feel different. I feel the tenseness of being black in a predominantly all-white area mostly.
What's wrong with you, little boy?
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. You know, I'm trying to adjust to the weather. It is cold out here. In New Orleans, it will be still warm. So we trying.
Everybody been lovely, you know, but not to come down to negative, but it's just been hardcore trying to get a job for the sales out here. Well, what time do I have to come in to fill out the application? Between 2 and 4? Is y'all hiring or is y'all just interviewing for the job? I mean, you know, just fill the application out for them. I'm not a person to look for a handout, but I mean, I want to get a job. And all I want to do is just make a living for my family. Hopefully I can buy a home like this, just a nice little home to have and say, this is mine. So just give a person the opportunity to get to working somewhere. I mean, this state of Utah, from what I heard, they have a lot of jobs.
What are the reasons they're giving you for why you don't get the job?
Well, I know it is because of the conviction papers, because of Me having a felony on me from in New Orleans from 20, 30 years ago. But like I said last night, there's nothing I can really do about it, but just keep trying. You know, I mean, I could get frustrated, I get mad. No, not that, I'm a friend. I mean, I can't go and force nobody to give me one.
But new troubles cannot bury old pains. Curtis is haunted by images of Katrina. He cannot escape the all-too-real nightmare.
What do you do to sort of get away from it?
I can't never get out of my mind when I had to break an icebox to put my child in to get out of there. I can never get out of my mind that Truro Hospital turned her down because she wouldn't register at Truro Hospital. And to see a guy get shot off a police car and another guy getting stabbed up, you know. I mean, people sitting out here in the darkness. You can't go in the convention center because it's mildew stinking. People have been killed in it. Shit. Kid falling over the banisters. Man, shit.
In the days following the storm, those trapped in New Orleans hear rumors of unimaginable savagery occurring at the supposed safe havens, the convention center, and the Superdome. The horrors brought by Katrina began at the hurricane's landfall. The storm surge breached the insufficient levee system, and massive amounts of water poured into New Orleans at an unimaginable rate. With catastrophic breaches occurring all along the levee system, disaster was inevitable. Disquieting rumors of sinister acts began to surface.
That's why the golf game, but the mayor, the governor, they can kiss my ass. You know, and I really mean that shit, because what you did with all that bullshit, you opened up a floodgate to level out the lake and the river. What the hell happened to Convention Boulevard all the way to St. Charles? There was no fucking water out there.
Well, I've heard that they opened up the storm drains in the lower 9 and in my area to save uptown area, because that was the rich area.
I mean, from Carrollton all the way up to when you got to St. Charles, there was water. When you got to St. Charles, you could walk up and goddamn down it.
Once you look at the disaster and where the water level stopped, I mean, your eyes tell it all.
Y'all knew y'all was gonna open the flood thing up. That's God should have come took people the hell out before they even opened the damn drains. The water was coming through the drains. The water wasn't coming from no floodgate being broke.
Theories also began to circulate that levees along Lake Pontchartrain were blown up to save the wealthy white neighborhoods.
In the Gentilly area, in an area called Boscoville, a mostly black neighborhood bordering the lakefront area, people who stayed heard a loud explosion that has never been explained. Now, it could have been the water breaking open the levee, I don't know, but people believe that some of it was done on purpose.
As little hard evidence has surfaced to substantiate these theories, the failure of the levee system is roundly attributed to poor design and neglected maintenance and repair. But this provides little answer to those that experienced the full extent of Katrina's wrath.
Down there, they got a lot of people crying murder and saying that it was a political move. Again, I say it could be true. It could be absolutely true, because a lot of people has died. A lot of people.
In total, 1,836 lives lost, over $80 billion in damages, and well over 1 million Gulf Coast residents affected. Katrina was one of the most devastating natural disasters in living memory, a catastrophe, and perhaps the greatest single failure of the government in modern American history. Investigations have shown failures at all levels of government. The federal government's indifferent, botched, even bumbling response is laid bare in painful detail in the bipartisan congressional report titled, "A Failure of Initiative."
It's dumbfounding to me that so many people put so much into preparing the national response plan, but then the basics of communicating, coordinating, collaborating, and ensuring you have the proper command and control was very poor.
Incompetence just reigned in the response to this particular situation. And the fact that the people were poor and black, I think, meant that there was no urgency to try to rectify all of the holes in the system that was not allowing the system to work.
You saw an unbelievable, and I think a racist coverage by the media, leading this nation to think that all these African American people are raising utter hell. And none of it was true. Not one bit of that was true. And yet that's still the impression in most people's minds in this country, and it's because it was repeated over and over and over again in our nation's media.
When you didn't see as much white faces as black faces, it really, it took a toll.
It took how many, 4 or 5 days to finally get them aid, yet we can drop something off to Indonesia after they've had this huge tsunami within 48 hours. What's going on that we can't take care of our own country? And why does it have to be that, why does it have to always appear that it's happening to African Americans?
Now you want to talk race? I'll say that now. I'll say I feel believe with race. A private neighborhood, poor people, you're going to, and look at the convention center. People got to get on the camera, and everybody, the cameraman got to run up and down saying, help, help, help. You know, get the fuck out of here, man. It's bullshit. I don't even give a shit no more, you know, because this is disgusting. Don't nobody have the governor of the mayor going to sit there and talk about coming home. We want the people to come home.
Now they're talking about if you come back, if you're a homeowner, if you decide not to sell, you have to build your house 8 to 10 feet off the ground.
Come back to New Orleans. For what? It's gonna go down just like the Atlantis did, and I never even heard of it.
As Curtis struggles to put the horror of Katrina behind him, Clifford finds it difficult to move forward.
The hard part is just being homesick.
He's fallen back on familiar, destructive habits. He turns to alcohol and drugs. The result is a devastating revelation.
My girlfriend and my kids are in Baton Rouge at this time. We split up temporarily because she just needed, had she been here, it probably would have got worse.
When I was in Utah, I was crying every day. You know, and I asked him, I said, it's not gonna be the same like New Orleans, huh? Told me no. But once I got in Utah, we got off Camp Williams ground, same thing, and I couldn't take it. Felt like he wasn't doing what he needed to do. He had job offers to him, many jobs, and he turned them all down. Come on, you said it wasn't gonna be the same like New Orleans. Let's start over. I'm willing to do this, let's do this. He wouldn't do it, so I had to go. I had to go.
Right now I'm here temporarily by myself until they come back, because they're coming back. I just don't know exactly when. And just keeping everything afloat until they come back.
I really want to be with him. I want us to be a family. I want us to do it right. I want us to get married. You know, I want us to be there for Scott and Isaiah. Something I have never had, 2 parents, and something he haven't had. You know, I want us to do it right. But he have to get help. In order for us to make it, he have to get help.
Being here without Scott and Isaiah is the heaviest thing I have to deal with every day. That's worse than going back and facing all that disaster, to be honest with you. Being without them too.
Cliff, let me tell you this. He's a big help with Sky and Isaiah. Other than his thing he do, he's a big help with Sky and Isaiah. He's a good father to them. But it's just that the money goes on that. Even when we don't have the money for him to do that, he find a way.
Just the fact that it's really heavy. It really is. I think I've been doing good about it. you know, taking care of everything, keeping my head up, you know, feeling blessed about everything. But when it's like this, that's why I have to watch TV or get on the phone. Because it's heavy. Really.
Following the setbacks each endures, both Curtis and Clifford began to question the decision to stay in Utah. Does Salt Lake City truly offer an opportunity for a better life? Or will a rebuilt New Orleans provide a chance to start anew? Mardi Gras. Each year, New Orleans' notorious carnival celebration draws revelers from across the globe for 2 weeks of parades, masquerade balls, and of course, non-stop partying. But 6 months after one of the worst natural disasters in U.S. history, Mardi Gras 2006 carries a much different tone. Less than a third of New Orleans' pre-Katrina population has returned to the city. However, violent crime is quickly approaching pre-Katrina figures. Those neighborhoods hardest hit by the storm remain in ruins, and unemployment and poverty still batter an already beleaguered city. In spite of this bleak outlook, New Orleans remains undaunted. The Mardi Gras must go on. With the festivities already underway, Curtis and Clifford return to New Orleans to reconnect with friends and family, and to weigh the decision as to whether they will be able to make this place their home again.
Man, look at all that water out there. I know. Oh, for real though, bro. I don't know.
I am nervous about seeing Cliff again, so I got like butterflies in my stomach.
Standing at the corner, machines for 6 o'clock at the top of my day. Man walks up, 4 nickels in his hand. Know just what you say. I need a solid quarter. Lucky you like. Just a solid quarter. You my friend. I can make it home tonight.
I can see the destruction that's about to come on earth. Amen. And you know the destruction has come on earth. But it's going to be even greater now. Amen. Because that's just the beginning of the clock.
Though the reunion proves to be a positive step towards reconciliation, Cliff and Donna have much to work out.
When Donna left, it did take a lot of me. It took a lot out of me simply because the opportunity I had there, I wanted to share with my family. And when she was there, I was complete.
It's just too much on me. I can't do it by myself. I come to realize I can't do it. He's a drinker. Between me and you, he do other things as well.
Okay, so what do you want to know?
I want to know if you're smoking crack.
No, I have I smoked crack since I've been in Utah? I have, yeah. I went up there with the bad habit, and to let you know how long I've been doing crack, I've been doing crack for about 5 years. When I was here, I mean, those who know me now, when they do see this, they won't believe it, cause I would have never told them. I was just gonna try to fix it. The main reason we split up was because I had went back to using drugs. I had found it out there, and I was doing it too. I had done it a couple of times, and she just wasn't gonna tolerate it. I take the blame for that, because that really killed me. And I found myself couldn't breathe because I know I was guilty and I was wrong, because you're bringing that shit up here too. She said, you doing that again? I'm not having my children around that. And she left.
You know, there it is. It's out. And what do you feel? How do you feel that, you know?
Feel relief. Now we can move on and have a family, a real family. You know, this I think is going to make us closer. Because I believe we're not going to fuss about this tonight. We're going to talk. And I do love Cliff.
And now I know. I know. But I ain't mad. Honest and true.
I broke that house when I was young. I got 3 years for it. Yeah, that's right. I got 3 years for breaking the people out right there. Aggravated burglary. 1983, July the 1st. I got sentenced to 3 years, October the 12th. I came home June 84.
This is a lot more our relatives, in-laws, my in-laws, his family.
What's up, Nick? Hey!
We used to have parties here all the time, Mardi Gras and birthdays and anniversaries. So this is where we used to hang at.
They used to walk down St. Charles Avenue. Under the light of a crescent city moon. Balconies are covered with ivy and half dead ferns. Wondering what happened to the ones who never returned.
Now you saw it?
Oh, Henry, AKA, you call, we do it all work, man. Believe me. Anytime you got roof, walls, trolls, anything you call him, he'll make a miracle and fix it. I need a drink. Shit. No, I need me some turkey neck, man.
Kurt, I see somebody eating turkey necks.
Come on, brother.
We've been waiting for food, man. I no food. And they, what y'all trying to say? You picked up a lot of weight?
About the weather? You got mountains all the way around. It rained in the goddamn mountains and the sun shining right there. It's snow out there by you and it rain in the fucking mountains.
Fools believe in hope when nothing but hope remains.
The trip to New Orleans proves fruitful. Cliff's reunion with Donna and his children put life into perspective, while the comfort of friends and family renewed Curtis's faith in himself. With the network of love and support that exists in New Orleans, there seems little reason for Curtis and Clifford to leave.
But I just can't blame
You know I love you, babe. I'm always come see you somewhere, somehow. Ooh, God.
To confront the nightmare that haunts him still, Curtis returns to the convention center, the site where he and his family sought refuge after floodwaters forced them to flee their home.
This is where everybody slept. Out here, across the street, nobody sleeping inside this motherfucker. This brings back memories. I was sitting here, my son was sitting there. They stabbed up a dude behind them big old pine trees, whatever goddamn ones you want to call them. And these dudes come running past us. The dude had a knife that long, about that wide with blood running down it. You know, I mean, And all I could do is just sit here and just hope and pray nothing. They had people running over here by us and shit, you know, when the dude got shot.
That was the last day.
That was Friday. That was Friday. Saturday morning, the dude's body was over there. Shit, man. I told my wife, Saturday morning, we don't fucking be out of here. We going back home. We end up getting out. This place I don't ever want to see again.
I'm glad I didn't have to go through that, Lord. God had me a pistol.
Wasn't a ditch, and then you wouldn't be seeing your goddamn churn, man. That's off the wall. This is where the helicopter was coming in, taking us out.
Last day.
This whole fence thing was closed off.
So how'd you get in?
You had from this pole to right here to go to a gate.
Oh, okay. So they had like a little
They had people from that way and this way.
Coming in like this.
Through that one area gate, but on that side.
Flowing just like the water.
Flowing like shit.
Oh, look, somebody left us a souvenir. You want them?
Me and my child gets this shit like, and these things.
So people must have was falling all in the bushes.
And I had to hold my child like this. Staples in her stomach, colossal bag on this side. I had to hold her. Being pressed, we like this. Matter of fact, I'm like this. In this bitch, you know.
Bunched up. She had staples in her stomach, and we was bunched up.
I don't even know why
Right
the fuck
here,
I'm doing this,
crowd
man.
of people.
I'm gone, you know. My wife say never. Don't never say never. Yeah, well, somebody raised the money for me to come back and visit again, fine. You know, but I'm going to live in Utah. Utah. I am officially a Utahan.
I think that's a tragedy right there because we think of New Orleans, we think this is my heritage. This is where I grew up at. This is where I come from. That was even worse than a hurricane. Just watching the people give up knowing that they don't have the same place to come back to raise their family.
All this was covered with people. See all these cars? No cars, people. The lady died right here that I walked up the bridge. I walked her up the bridge and she died right there. Exit Claiborne. This is my area here. Totally destroyed.
Clifford and his family returned to their old neighborhood to see what's left of the house they once called home.
Okay, well, they got the house all boarded up. Let me see what they say on my house. As you can see where the water level was, you can see how tall I am. So when I got off the boat that was up here, remember I told you the boat that was up here? I got out the boat and stepped in water up to here, all the way through the house. And they had rescue teams and boats coming from down there, which is Hope Street, where my mom lived at, where I grew up at. They had boats just coming and the water just as though we was on a river. Oh, it stink up here, huh?
Yeah.
Look at my shoes, man. Ooh, y'all be careful, because I don't know how strong these flows are. Isaiah, where you at?
Right here.
Go ahead, get out of here. I don't want to touch nothing myself. Take them and read them. What year is this? 2004. This is my journal. I call them journals. You know, it's not nothing personal. I just write events that happen in the year. And when the year gone, see, now I can sit back and read them. Oh yeah, I remember when that shit happened. Good and bad. That's why I used to write stuff like this down. It just reminds me of how hard it was for me to get ahead. And now, everything that I've longed to do, Here, I've accomplished in 5 months in Utah to do just what I'm doing now, going to culinary school. So for me to give that up, to come back and live hardship, like I say, it's like some of my people are still doing here. I mean, I miss New Orleans. But for me to have to move to another state, it was meant. Simple as that. It had to be. And that's why I say I wouldn't trade Utah and the anti-diversity or the more white people, black people to come back here for nothing. That's what I'm doing all this for. That's to make sure they don't have to go through half of what I went through.
With Mardi Gras 2006 deemed a success, New Orleans appears a city reborn and well on the road to recovery. But among those that lost everything to the storm, the future of their city looks grim.
Shit. Ain't nothing changed here, man. I mean, you're having a Mardi Gras, only trying to show tourists we are building it back up, the city back. We want our tourists back, but you say the opposite of we want our people back.
What I hope doesn't happen is just what I'm assuming that's going to happen, that it's going to be too rich for us black people to come and live here where we were born and raised.
15 years, I think New Orleans is gonna look like Las Vegas. I think that New Orleans is already approved for gambling, the casinos, and I think that with the hurricane, the devastation of the hurricane is a good way to pull up a lot of hotels, make it an even bigger tourist city.
I'll put it like this here, it won't be a goddamn chocolate fucking city. Fuck.
For Curtis and Clifford, as well as many other native New Orleanians, it seems their hometown no longer offers much of anything. Perhaps it never did. But for just as many others, the Crescent City remains a home worth returning to.
I lost family members, I lost property, I lost friends. Man, the most important thing is just that heritage, you know, saying, hey, this is where you're from, this is where you grew up at, and then go back and say, wow, it's gone.
New Orleans had a space for black people. Culturally, it was a space for black people. It's going to take us a while to come back from this. But I do honestly believe that, you know, like the Phoenix, there will be a core group of us who are determined to stay and who will fight to maintain what, in fact, is our cultural heritage in this city.
Hurricane Katrina shattered our comfortable illusion about race and poverty. It served to expose the ever-widening gulf that exists between rich and poor. Katrina showed us the real human price of our indifference.
I think that the American people shut out these problems in terms of poverty and racism. And I think that they just accept so much as a given in this country.
I really don't believe America's a racist country. I do believe that whites have grown accustomed to seeing blacks living in squalor. You get used to seeing the poverty. And I think when whites saw African Americans suffering in New Orleans, this was just almost a few degrees more than what they're used to seeing.
I think that that's the stereotype, you know, that black people are poor and uneducated and they sing rap music and denigrate black women in particular and use bad language. I think that the media has done a really good job of portraying us in the worst way, when in fact black people have done a lot with very little, and the good that we've done is rarely shown.
Do we really care about other people? If we do, we will never, when we go into the polling places, vote for people who have the abject utter disregard for people other than the very most wealthy. Again, we'll look at the background of those people running for office and see, did they ever show that they really gave a damn about other people and their personal lives?
Utah did show compassion, though it did have its moments of ignorance and fear. In the end, Utah cared. It made room for these Americans who had lost everything. The most eloquent proof of this is the decision of many of the evacuees, including Curtis and Clifford, to make their homes under the big, wide open skies of Utah.
But there had to be a bigger being to create such beautifulness, you know what I'm saying? Look at the mountains and when the snow is there, it's like right now, there's snow up there. I mean, that's like Holy Land, you ask me. Because nobody's supposed to be up there but him, you know what I'm saying? That's what I like about Utah. It's beautiful here, man.
used to walk down St. Charles Avenue. Under the light of a crescent city moon. Balconies are covered with ivy and half dead fern. Wondering what happened to the ones who never returned.
I can name a lot of people, God for one, you know.
Amen.
Thank you every day, you know, for living, to have a new home, you know. It was
life.
fun. It was really fun, you know what I mean? But, hey, come back and see us sometime. Peace.